I go way back with Coach Beverly Humphrey. She started her coaching career in Greenville, Texas, where we are right now. Started at the middle school and had a lot of success there. And he quickly moved her up to the high school, where she won 4 district titles in track and field and 2 in volleyball. People talk a lot about her track and field coaching skills, but she can coach other sports and did real well with volleyball too. And Lancaster heard about her and offered a position, and I wanted her to stay in Greenville. And I even wrote a column, Sports Views column. Greenville should find a way to keep Coach Beverly Humphrey. And 13 state track and field team titles later, I was right. What I liked about Beverly, she won with style and class. And I was lucky enough, she invited me into the locker room back in the day, track and field. There weren't any girls in there, of course. And I saw how she had it decorated. And I thought that was a smart idea. Uh, it looked like, hey, this is special. Track and field special. If you're part of this team, you're going to be part of something special. And I always enjoyed going to meets and seeing her girls. What kind of track uniforms were they wearing? Because they were always stylish. And I think a lot of people were like me, like, what are they wearing this time? And she knew that if you're going to get girls to run, you got to make it fun because they're going to have to work hard. And she was a very hard worker, but she made it an attractive sport where girls will want to come out and run, be part of something special. And I just always enjoyed watching her teams compete, not only Greenville but Lancaster. I've made 45 state track and field meets, so I was there for, golly, more than 30 of her track meets, and I always kept my eye on her athletes. And I love watching her relays run. I think she told me she won 37 state titles with her relays. That's just incredible. She has a gift for coaching relays, and she has a personality where she's very, very focused. And then one time I went to talk to her during a region track meet, and she was really focused and said, "Hey, David, I don't really have time. We got prelims going on," and I picked up on that. And I'm her friend and still am, but she was focused on what she was doing. Well, I was thinking, relay runners, they have to be focused on that baton. They have to be focused in the starting blocks on the starting gun. And that focus that she had, the incredible focus, carried over those athletes. And they always had this look when they were running it. They were really into what they were doing and focused, and their form was always good. And I just really enjoyed watching her teams compete. So in my mind, she's the greatest Texas high school track and field coach ever. Nobody, male or female, have won anywhere close to as many state titles. It was interesting. The record before she came along for most consecutive state titles was 5 by the Refugio girls. And that head coach was George Harris. I was his teacher's aide in high school, George Harris. I had a lot of respect for him. And then to watch, I thought if anybody was going to break it, Beverly was the right one to break it. And it just had so much respect for Coach Harris and still do. Have so much respect for Beverly and still do. And I think a lot of her success was her husband, Chuck. Chuck and I are real good buddies. Chuck ran sprints back in the day for Wichita Falls Rider, and he knows a lot about sprints, and he's a good balance to Bev, and they play off each other on ideas, and he's just so steady and easy going, and when she's focused, he can be he's focused, but yet he's still a friendly sort. And I just enjoy sitting there with Chuck sometimes, watching Beverly coach and watching her athletes. That's just a lot of enjoyment to me. But I love the sport track and field, and I wasn't real good at it, but I developed a love for it and appreciation for it. And there's no better thing to do in Texas high school than watch Beverly's teams compete, because that's how they were always top quality, and they won so many titles, and they were good not just in relays but other events. She worked other events, and you would see them in the triple jump, the long jump, you see them in the hurdles. They got after it, and that was, I think those girls realized it was an honor competing for Lancaster, and that came from Beverly. And, of course, I know that Beverly herself was a good sprinter and went to Prairie View A&M and ran for the legendary Barbara Jacket, and now is in the Prairie View A&M Hall of Fame. And so is Barbara Jacket, and she carried on Barbara Jacket's legacy in Texas, and uh, I was happy to get to work with her in Greenville. I didn't get to work with her quite as much at Lancaster. Here's something else that I think is interesting. There's, to my knowledge, only two football stadiums in the state of Texas that are named for track and field coaches. One of them is Cotton Ford Stadium here in Greenville. The other one is Beverly D. Humphrey Tiger Stadium in Lancaster. That just doesn't happen. You look around and see track coach with a stadium named for them, and you go out there and they got a 9-lane facility and a top. She does it right. That's if you want to get your kids ready to run a lane 9 at the state track and field meet, you might as well do it in practice there on your home track. And that track was well maintained the last time I saw it, and it's just I think it's a high honor that they named that stadium for her. And I took it as a high honor of being invited to the dedication ceremony. And I sat at the same table with one of her sprinters named Jerica Chappell, one of the best 400-meter runners of all time, and Beverly coached her. So I can't say enough good things about Beverly, and I'm sorry to see her retire, but I understand it takes so much energy to put into this sport. That's for her decision to make, and I wish her well on this, but I'm going to miss seeing her teams compete.
Perfect. Wow. You just flowed. Okay. Good job. Now, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
What 5 words would you use to describe Beverly Humphrey?
Okay. Passion, intensity, flair, focus, competitive. That competitive fire burned in her. And if you're going to run for her, you better, or throw or jump, you better have that competitive fire. And then those girls always competed. And I just love watching them on the relays because of that competition. And that's my big thing in sports. I think sometimes winning and losing is overemphasized. Compete, compete, compete. If you compete well, the winning and losing takes care of itself. I've never seen any of the athletes she put on the track that didn't compete. They competed well. And they might not always win, but they were right there at the finish sometimes. And you just couldn't miss them. And she had different philosophies about running order. Sometimes she put her fastest one on the 4th leg, sometimes on the 2nd leg. Sometimes she would front load it and have her 3 fastest ones and put the not the quickest one on the anchor, hope that girl could hold them off and win. She just had different strategies. She would build her relays around her runners and not do it the same way every time. And that shows a sign of track intelligence that a lot of people don't have. And that it's unfortunate, but sometimes in some of these high schools, they'll put a football coach in as track coach or assistant basketball coach. And bless their hearts, they don't know the sport and understand it. Beverly understood the sport, still does, and she was the right one to be running that program because she truly understood it. And here's another honor that she received that I think is interesting, being an athletic director. Not too many women coaches these days get to be women's athletic director. And, I knew she could handle it because I know what kind of person she is. She takes care of business, and that's what the athletic director has to do. And she's going to bring in the best coaches for the program and look after the kids, and she cares about her athletes. And her and Chuck, they're like surrogate parents to the kids. And I have no question that they would come to her when they need advice about other things other than track and field, and she would give them good advice. And you know, Chuck, well, I watched him interact with the athletes, and you can tell that they admire him just like they admire Beverly. They made for a great team.